In this episode, you're going to learn more about different parts of VeVe, from their VeVeVerse to their team to their licensors. What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name is Josh, and on today's episode, I sit down with the CEO of VeVe, Mr. Ben Rose, and we talk about VeVe and the VeVeVerse. Now, this interview is going to be a two-parter, and the reason why is because I didn't spend too much time responding to the things that Ben had to say. I was more so focused on getting answers to as many questions as I could within the 30 minutes I had him for. And so our next episode is going to recap the interview in a shorter form, while also providing all the points I wish I could have added. I did respond to a couple, but I couldn't for all because if I did that, I would have only gone through like 2 or 3 questions. So if you guys do enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And congratulations on that role, by the way.
Thank you.
As soon as I heard that your main responsibility was helping kind of scale the business, I immediately thought of the VeVeVerse because, you know, a VeVeVerse is going to be a very large pillar of the business in terms of where people are going to spend their time, what we can do with collectibles. Now you guys just showed comics. So what exactly is your vision for the VeVeVerse? And how is VeVe going to use a project or a tool like that to kind of take the business to the next level?
Yeah, great. So at our heart, we are a place for collectors to come together. And so the way that's looked until now has been, you know, the feed on the app, it's been the community in social, and it's been people sharing what they're doing in their own, you know, in their own showroom with others in the community. And so connecting over the stuff that people love, but sharing with you what I'm doing in my showroom. So the VeVeVerse is the next step of that, where people can actually come together and connect over the stuff that they love together and interact with it. And, you know, that's really what it's about, coming together. So if you think about, you know, the VeVe community, we've got customers in 180 different countries, more I think, around the world. And so they all love collecting, they love different IPs, and they feel part of something together because of that shared love. And so what the VeVeVerse is about giving them a way to experience that and take it up a level. So my vision for the VeVeVerse is that it becomes as community driven as it is driven by VeVe, and it's a place where people can really hang out and express themselves and just connect over that love of collecting. There are so many people out there who love collecting but haven't yet discovered digital collecting, and they don't yet know about what this could be. So that's my vision for it, is to really bring people together around their love of their fandoms.
And so in the video you guys just released, you're talking about, you know, 2 different modes. Somebody can kind of go into the VeVeVerse as someone who just wants to explore, and then you also have the building option. How are you going to kind of cater to those different types of audiences? Is VeVe going to have a team that focuses on building out experiences, and then you have another team that focuses on, you know, running events? How do we kind of cater to make sure that both sides are kind of taken care of?
Yeah, totally. So we're actually growing our community management and events team at the moment. So we've got, you know, we've got people like my Collectibles doing their thing, which is awesome, on, you know, on X and other channels. We've got Eagle on the team in Discord, and all of our awesome mods, you know, really building the community there in Discord, and you know, shout out to all of those guys for the amazing stuff they do. We are looking at this as a new forum for the community to come together. So we will be holding events online and offline. That includes the VeVeVerse, but it includes the cons and the sorts of things that we do. So the VeVeVerse will absolutely be part of our events and community strategy, but it's also a platform that requires development resource. And so the way that we're approaching that is, rather than saying, here, you know, we know for sure what people are going to want in 12 months, 18 months, 36 months, because we don't, you don't, nobody does right now. What we're going to do is we're going live with version 1. We're going live with MVP, and we're taking user feedback from that point and responding. So very similar approach to how we've been working with, you know, with the VeVe app, for example. Okay. So you'll see us dropping additional functionality, you know, big things, small things as we go. That's based on, you know, that's a response to feedback and user behavior. So that's what we'll do with the VeVeVerse. So already in the the preview, there were lots of questions and lots of requests for functionality. We're capturing all of those. We've got quite an active research program ongoing, and that will integrate feedback from the VeVeVerse and what people want to see as well.
All right, so speaking of devoting resources, something that I've been wanting to kind of ask the team is VeVe has now branched over into VeVe Comics, and in your current terms and conditions, you guys outline that there's going to be 3 apps. So you have VeVe Collectibles, Comics, and then the VeVeVerse app. I mean, on top of those 3, for a new user coming in, who really wants to kind of, I guess, understand the full picture of what VeVe really is and where you guys are going, they got to understand all 3 of those components. And then you have the 𝗖𝗵𝗵 token and Stacker and the MCP program and all this, right? So why has VeVe kind of, like, what's the reasoning for breaking into separate platforms like that?
Yeah, okay, so the reason that we've done it has been specific to each particular product or instance at the time. However, since one of the benefits of coming in fresh is you've got a bit of fresh set of eyes, and you've got the ability to say, well, actually, does it make sense to do it like this? And so we're working through that with the product team now, saying, well, actually, we've got all of these different things. Does it make sense to have them separately? And in some cases it will, in some cases it won't. We've also got aspirations to launch new products, things like the VeVeVerse and other things in the future. So actually, from an architectural and a user experience point of view, what's the best approach to that? So I don't have an answer for you right now, only to say we are considering it currently. So again, this is a symptom of an ambitious startup business launching lots of cool stuff. Now we have got the luxury of saying, okay, as a slightly more mature business, what would be the best way for us to set this up? So it's brilliant that we're able to respond to user needs and community needs and offer new things. What's the best way to do that? So there are pros and cons of having separate experiences versus the same one. So separate experiences means you can be more specialized. So the needs of a comic reader will be different to the needs of a digital collectible collector. So you can be more specialized and have specific functionality. The downside is you have to have additional resourcing for the build, the development. You also have to promote them separately. So you have to have, you have to get consumers across both and building different habits. So yeah, we're having a look at that right now. Okay,
awesome. Yeah, and I think just something to add to that, because I've been with the platform since season 1, like as you guys transition into season 2, and I think a big eye-opener for me right when I got on was just how simple the process was of signing up, right? Like it was just putting your credit card in and clicking buy now.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is as VeVe's kind of grown, it's becoming a little bit more difficult to kind of understand all the components at once. And I'm a gamer, right? So like, when I look at the MCP program, I'm like, there's certain points for certain collectibles on this side, but then, you don't earn duplicate points for certain rarities on the comic side. And it's just, there's a lot to keep up with. So I'm glad you guys are...
there is. And that complexity, that's really valid feedback. You're absolutely right. And so we're in some of the changes we're making. One of the new roles we're recruiting is a chief customer officer whose job it is going to be to take an all of business view of exactly that kind of thing, to go, okay, does this make sense? What's the best way to do this? So one of the strengths of VeVe since day one is that we've really focused on making things accessible and easy. You don't need to go and set up a wallet or see phrases and all that stuff. So that accessibility and that ease, that's been a bit of a superpower of ours. And you're absolutely right. We've got to make sure that we hold on to it. So yeah, look, valid feedback. I share your view. We're trying to work out what's the best way.
Love it. Cool. All right. So you mentioned briefly there about how you guys have to promote kind of the different projects separately, right? So I kind of want to go over to the advertising side of things just briefly here. VeVe's kind of started releasing a little bit more ads around VeVe Comics in particular. And I'll be on YouTube from time to time and I'll see, a banner ad kind of pop up. And I'm in the social media world, so I understand when I look at a banner like that,
I like the first question that comes to mind is, why isn't it a video ad that's popping up when I click on the video or something like that? Why isn't it, collectibles and AR or team members, kind of, explaining the app or something like that?
Yeah.
Why has VeVe structured their ads the way that you guys have? I mean, I guess
No,
it will based off licensors, right? But
yeah, look, so we're not limited, and like, why do you structure your ads like you do is a really big question, and we could probably do a whole separate discussion about it, right? So, we are, I think we're learning, like everybody is, about what works, what doesn't work. But I think when we've got a really good performance team, we work with external partners on those sorts of things, and so it's data driven. Like, it's really data driven. So we do what works, and we A/B test different creatives to see which ones are working, which ones aren't.
Okay.
We benchmark the performance of our paid activity versus organic activity. So yeah, the why do we do it the way we do it is because the data points to that working. Is it, do we get it right all the time? No, absolutely not. But as you would know, the way that digital advertising works is you just have to keep on iterating and piloting and running tests and kind of optimizing to what works better. So yeah, that's one thing I would say. Where I think we've got a big opportunity to improve is how we leverage our data internally and cross promote. To a user who might love a particular IP, we could use data to find out what other IPs they might love and start to cross promote. We've got to do a better job of that. But externally, the way we do that is it's all data driven. So we only invest where we know it's going to get a positive return. And it's all through the data.
And that kind of leads me to some of the videos you guys have on your channel, because what I've noticed is there are some videos, the Venom reveal video, for example. I think Carnage is on this list as well. But you guys have some videos that are unlisted on the channel. You guys haven't actually set them as public. And I noticed some of the commercials of the collectibles and AR are on that list as well. Why are you guys doing this and not setting them public?
Yeah, so it's purely to test the paid activity versus organic activity. So for those of your viewers who don't know, when you're doing marketing activity, there are a couple of ways that you can use it to convert into leads and into traffic. So the first one is paid activity. So it's kind of pay per play, pay per click, and that's paid advertising, search advertising, that kind of thing. The other side of things is where you do brand advertising and other more awareness focused stuff that will create traffic and activity, and that's called organic. And so we tend to use unlisted videos to track that kind of stuff. So what people come across through searching gives us good insights into what people are looking for, and it also helps us benchmark the efficacy of the paid activity to kind of match against the two. Because what we're always trying to do is in our marketing team is we're always trying to optimize the return on the paid activity, and also make the organic stuff work as hard as possible. So that's the reason for that.
Now I want to take a moment just to preempt this next question, because I didn't exactly ask it the best way I wanted to. I actually ended up combining two different questions on my list, but it ended up being a happy accident because Ben's answer to this question was awesome. And as you guys will soon see, he ends up changing my perspective. So check it out. Now, just to move the topic a little bit here, I understand that you play Fortnite. Is that correct?
That is correct. But if you ask my daughters, they tell you I was terrible. I reckon I'm okay for a dad. Right? I reckon I'm okay.
The topic of user-generated content has come up from time to time, and in Fortnite is a fantastic example of this. You also have, you also have Roblox and Minecraft and the Halos.
Totally.
When we're talking about competition in our community, you hear the phrase, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And I would agree with that phrase if we're talking about businesses in the same space, right? Where if it's like a McFarlane Digital, helping bring other people into the same space. When you look at a platform like Fortnite, if you were to hold up a Black Panther skin for Fortnite and then a Black Panther collectible for VeVe, and somebody isn't interested in diving into the tech behind the two, a lot of people are going to look at those two things and go, okay, they're the same thing, but the one on Fortnite I can do more things with. right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, I look at that being actual competition, because that person is now being taken away from what could be the web 2.5, 3 space, whatever you want to call it, and going over to Fortnite. So do you see a day where VeVe kind of works with platforms like that to help bridge the gap? And if not, how are you going to kind of battle virtual spaces like the one that Fortnite's building with Disney?
Sure. So I fundamentally disagree with you that it's a bad thing if someone buys Black Panther in Fortnite. A bad thing for VeVe if that happens. So I'm a collector.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a gamer. I spend money on collecting. I also spend money on gaming. The reason I think that things like Roblox and Fortnite are really, really bullish and positive for the digital collecting space is because it normalizes purchasing digital assets. Now, whether those are, on the blockchain or not, it normalizes people paying real world money for something that they own or use online. And so the biggest challenge for digital collecting as an industry right now is to explain the proposition to people in the collecting world. So we know how big collecting is, $400-500 billion a year. People are spending every year on physical collectibles. Our biggest challenge is to go into that world and get people to understand the proposition of digital collecting. So I love the fact that Fortnite and Roblox are out there promoting buying V-Bucks, buying Robux to buy avatars, skins, whatever it might be. I think that's great. So from a business point of view, from a strategic point of view, I think that's a really positive thing. Is it taking money away from VeVe if someone says I can do more with Black Panther and Fortnite than I can in VeVe? Well, no, they're different propositions. We're a place for people who absolutely love comics and collectibles to come and collect those and build up their connection with that IP and the community. Fortnite's a gaming platform, so I think they're quite different. We're in a similar space conceptually, and I think that's a positive thing. And your other point about others in the digital collectibles market, I absolutely agree with. I think the more of us there are out there promoting digital collectibles as a category, the better. So really supportive of that, and really sad to see when someone leaves the space.
I gotta say, one thing that I really appreciate you, Ben, is the way that you kind of explain things. You explain things in a way that makes it easy for people to understand. So I do gotta say, I asked you that question thinking that somebody going over to Fortnite would be kind of like a bad thing for VeVe in a way. You just switched my opinion on that, because now I'm kind of looking at it from like a generational perspective of like, okay, the more kids that get involved with Fortnite and buy the skins, it's only a matter of time before they grow up and something like what VeVe's offering becomes normalized, right? Becomes more mainstream. So I appreciate you saying it the way that you just said that.
Well, I'm not very bright, so the way I look at things quite simply. But my kids bought me a Fortnite skin for Father's Day, and that's cool. And they bought that because it's a thing they're familiar with. They knew I'd like it, and we get to enjoy it together because we play together. It's the same with digital collectibles, right? There was a Comics and Crypto did a post a little while ago of Cookie Monster playing in the schoolyard with some kids, doing the animation. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff. There are definitely similarities, and I think we are as adults right now collecting digitally. By the time our kids grow up and they get to the elderly age that I'm at, this stuff's going to be completely normal. Right. But because of the work that people like you're doing, that we're doing in kind of explaining it, it won't need explaining in the future. But right now, I think that's where we've got to be.
Absolutely. No, I loved hearing that. Okay, perfect. So you talked about how you want to focus on kind of making people more aware of digital collecting. So that kind of brings me to the question of how VeVe kind of plans on delivering that message. So I feel like there's two ways of going about this. You can go the route of, hey, these are on the blockchain and they're NFTs and, you own them and all that stuff. Or you can go the route of, hey, look at your favorite character popped up in AR, right? And it's easy to store on your phone and that type of stuff. So what exactly will be VeVe's, I guess, talking points to help kind of spread this message?
Yeah, okay. So I think it's a really simple decision. Do you go out and say, these are NFTs, they're on the blockchain, or do you go out and say, hey, if you love Batman, great news? I think it's the latter. So if you think about, there are so many communities out there built around fandoms, people who just love whatever it is, whether it's a particular comic or particular character or movie or song or musician or whatever, right? They love it, and they're out there right now having conversations like this, following one another, and meeting up in person, offline. We need to go to where they are. We need to go and talk to them. Now, they don't care largely about blockchain and NFTs because it's early tech, it's new, it's unfamiliar to a lot of people. What they care about is they care about their fandom and they care about rarity and scarcity. So we need to go and talk to them about that stuff. We need to engage with them on their terms, and we need to tell them about the proposition of digital collecting in addition to physical collecting. So just to be clear, it's not, hey, physical collecting's terrible, come over to digital. Physical collecting is awesome. I mean, look behind me, right? But digital collecting has some really cool aspects that are unique to digital collecting. So it's accessible. So you can get, first appearances of things. You can get early versions of things that, in the physical world, you just can't. You can verify the rarity and scarcity of something. You can connect with people all around the world who also love that thing. You can collect as many as you like without getting in trouble for taking up space in the house. You can, you can go for mint numbers. It's carbon neutral. So I think the carbon neutral side of things, that's a really big part of digital collecting now, particularly the way that we've built it on 𝗖𝗵𝗵𝗖𝗍. If you're collecting physical collectibles, there's a lot of carbon that goes into the manufacturing, into the shipping, all of that stuff. So I think what we've got to do is we have to be where they are. We have to talk to them about things that they care about and they love. And what they care about and they love is not VeVe, it's not NFTs, it's not blockchain. It's the fandoms that they love. And so we need to go and connect with them in that way.
There you go, buying into what people love. The old sales phrase.
Well, I think the reason that VeVe has grown as a platform and as a business, it's not because of VeVe, it's because of the IPs. It's because of our licensor partners. So that, VeVe's first drop did so well, not because it was VeVe, but because it was Batman. So I think we need to really focus on that. And absolutely, over the years, our brand has, grown more meaningful to our community. But if I'm talking to someone who is really into Adventure Time, chances are they haven't heard of VeVe, but they love Princess Bubblegum. So that's the conversation I've got to have to get them over.
Fantastic. And you were just speaking about IP there. That's what I want to move into now. Is something I've always had trouble kind of wrapping my head around here is how you guys manage all of the relationships you guys have formed while also developing new ones. I mean, up until recently, with you coming on board, David and Dan were the two primary faces for VeVe. They built it to where it's gotten. And a large part of that, earlier on in the days was them going around in their car with the PowerPoint presentation and pitching all the businesses, right? So, pitching the business is one thing. You sign them. Now you got to satisfy them. So how is VeVe, maintaining relationships with licensors? How do you ensure that VeVe doesn't onboard a, let's say like a larger name like Disney, who might end up leaving, and then that influences the decisions of other companies to come on in the future? How are you guys managing those relationships?
Yeah, so it's really important to us, not just, as you say, not just to onboard a partner, but to really embed them so it's a long-term sustainable relationship. So it starts off with the introductions, and David and Dan over the years have built up an amazing network of contacts. They're both collectors themselves, so that's been phenomenally helpful. And actually, part of bringing me into the business was to enable David to really focus on that, because that's where we want him to really spend his time and effort, and that's exactly what he's doing. When we get a partner on, we have a process internally of really embedding them across the business at every different touch point to make sure that we understand them, they understand us, and that we're working together really well. So that's across every part you could think of: production, marketing, whatever it might be. So,
okay, so when you say When you say touch points, you mean teams, like teams across the business?
Yeah. Individuals and teams.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. So if you think about, I suppose the life cycle of a licensor with us, there's going to be multiple stages, right? There's the initial discussions and the contract negotiations, and so at that point we're talking with senior executives, with legal, with finance. Then once they're onboarded, then we've got to brief the teams to make sure that we really understand their IP, their audiences. So now we're starting, we're getting our creative teams, our marketing teams, our product teams across that to make sure that we really understand, who they are and what they do and why that appeals to their users, so that we can kind of replicate that. When we're at the point of creating specific collectibles, our production teams are working really close. Our creative teams are working on concepts with them on what might work, because what works with say Mephisto will be quite different to working with 24/7 comics, right. Because of the creative approaches they take, but also because of their audiences. So our teams will work with them on, okay, what could a collectibles range look like? Think of Blackpink, for example, totally different audience, different proposition. So what could a range of collectibles look like? Is it likenesses? Is it dioramas? Are there characters? How does that work? Then we get to the point of starting to sketch out those, and we've got to work really closely with the IP holders on making sure that we're true to their IPs. And so there's a lot of back and forth and collaboration across that. Then the marketing team are working again really closely with the IP and the licensors on, okay, what's the promotion of this going to look like across your channels, across our channels. And then of course, once everything's live, we start getting the feedback back, and we're working with them on, okay, look, the audience say this felt it wasn't quite true to the essence of the comic, or how might we tweak it. Similarly, our licensors have stuff going on that's helpful to us. So if there's a movie dropping using an IP that we have, our licensor partner will say to us, hey, it might be a good time to launch XYZ at that time, because we're going to see a bit more publicity in the market. So it's really, really collaborative, and for us, as I said, onboarding someone is awesome, but then really embedding that relationship, growing it so that we can access more of their IPs, but making sure that they're happy and it's working for our community. That's absolutely essential. So yeah, it kind of is across the whole business.
Wow, lots of moving parts then. Because I remember, and forgive me, I don't know his actual name, but is the CEO of VeVe Korea. He was mentioning about how licensors can approve something and then all of a sudden come back a day before the drop and say, hey, they got to change XYZ. So
look on that. So some licensors are more, I suppose, more relaxed than others. But if you think about it, we trade off their IP, and their IP for them is absolutely everything. They really they invest all of their time and effort and resources into whatever their IP is, and so it's really, really precious to them. So we have to do it justice, and we're working in a creative industry, and sometimes some of those calls are subjective, and that's just the way it has to roll.
Yeah. Okay, so we just talked about the licensor side. Let's switch over to the team side now. So my question is essentially the same thing, but how do you manage relationships with team members? Because VeVe's a remote business, and managing people remotely, it's a whole different ball game, right? So how do you make sure that people are not only meeting their responsibilities for their roles, but then also they're motivated and they want to kind of almost exceed expectations in a way? Cool.
So this is not my first remote only leadership role, and so I've luckily had a bit of practice. So the keys to running a successful remote team, and by successful I mean that has a really high performing culture and delivers awesome stuff. And I've mentioned this before. There are three keys. They've got to be clear, they've got to be capable, and they've got to be motivated. So clarity is super important when you've got remote teams, because clarity means having a really clear plan and knowing what each person is responsible for doing and knowing how they're going. So if you're in an office environment, you can get away without having massive clarity, because everyone can kind of work it out by osmosis, and they'll hear conversations and they can kind of say, hey, do you reckon this is right? When you're working remotely, you can't do that. You have to be really, really clear about what do I need to do today, this week, this quarter, this year to succeed and contribute to the business. And you have to be clear about how am I going on it. So that puts the onus on to leadership to have a plan, to give their teams clear goals and objectives, and to monitor them and to hold them accountable to them. So making sure that if someone's doing really well on a particular thing, you recognize it and you say to them, hey, so good, really proud of that, that's fantastic. Similarly, if they're not going well on something, you got to say, hey, listen, I see that this isn't happening, what can I do to help you? What do we need to do to get that back on track? So that's the clarity side of things. The capability piece, really important with remote teams, because it's not for everyone. So you have to be the right kind of person. You have to be quite self-motivated. You have to be you have to really be into kind of what we're doing, and we try and hire people who have got really strong skill sets and experience, because typically remote environments don't work amazingly well for very, very junior people who are learning on the job, because that actually is suited better to an in-person kind of environment. So capability is really important. Have you got the skills to do the job, and have you got the tools? So if you're working remotely, you've got to have the right tools. So here I am doing an interview sitting in my lounge. I've got to have the right sound equipment and the right lighting equipment and that kind of stuff. So that's important. And then lastly is motivation. So you have to be the sort of person working remotely who can switch into work mode and leave the kitchen and the laundry behind and sit here, and now I'm in the office, right? And so I have to believe in what I'm doing and be motivated. So those are the keys. One of the downsides of a fully remote workforce, look, one of the upsides is you can hire the best people irrespective of where they are. I don't care where you are, as long as you've got good Wi-Fi and the right skills, brilliant, you're hired. So when if you have a local office, you have to hire someone who's available in the local labor market. So we don't have. One of the downsides is it is harder to build culture remotely, right? So it's really good for getting stuff done and being efficient and that kind of stuff, but you do miss out on the kind of just getting together and catching up and getting to know one another. So we have to build that in separately. So when we have a physical event, a Comic-Con or whatever, and we have teams going to that, we need to put time aside so that we hang out with one another, that we get to know one another, and be really conscious about that's the purpose of that. So I think that's something that I've learned from previous places I've worked at, Binance, etc. And that's something that we're certainly focused on. As we you will have seen, we're recruiting for some new roles, we're making some tweaks in the team. That think about how do we build culture in addition to a really high performance culture. I'm working through at the moment now with the team.
How much time do I have still? How much time do you got?
That's a very good question. You have got
a few more questions.
Oh no. You've got a minute. You've got a minute. I'm 5 minutes.
Okay. I think the only other question was going to be around AI, because I just noticed in this the video you guys just released, there was a tab saying Open AI, like there was an extension for it. So I know that there's a lot. AI is making a huge leap forward at the moment. I use AI agents for my own work. Just set them to do certain tasks while I'm doing other things. Has VeVe kind of taken this type of stuff into consideration in terms of, one, whether you guys want to use it, but then two, if you don't, how to block it?
So we're using AI in lots of different parts of our business. And to be honest, my view is if an organization isn't, then they're missing out. 100%. Clearly, you've got to have policies and procedures about how you do that in an ethical way and a safe way. But look, we do use AI in different parts of our business. But I have to go because I'm late.
No problem. Hey, thanks again for taking the time. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Thanks so much.
All good. See you, mate. Thanks.
Ladies and gents, that is going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Ben, thank you so much again for taking the time. It was an absolute pleasure finally meeting you. And to those who may be concerned about certain questions still not being answered, don't worry, I hope this marks the first of many in the future. We've also now hit the 1st of November. We're a couple weeks out from Vegas DCon. This is a last call for anyone who wants to get merch. Link is in the description. But if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for our next, I will catch you then.